This is my third shot at this homily, but this is by far the biggest congregation I've had with it. But so I do need to ask, as I have the first two times, is there a dermatologist in the house? Okay, let me tell you why I hate dermatologists. It's true. Bill Dillon's a dermatologist at Bowling Green, graduate of St. Francis, good friend, great family. He's my current dermatologist. I don't need one often, but when I do, I am never more frustrated with their answers or lack of them. Right? The very first time I went to a dermatologist, this was back when I was at our school in Michigan, and I was doing Catholic Heart Work camps. I was a different city every week, 400 to 500 kids a week, and I was at our camp in Maryland, and this thing broke out all over my skin. And I went to like a minute clinic, and they're like, "That's probably just chiggers." And I'm like, "You don't even know what those are." Now, I'm from Michigan. We know chiggers. I've had them before. This is not chiggers. It could be bed bugs. Ooh, you know. So I show them to someone. No, that's not bed bug bites. Okay. So I called this dermatologist in Michigan. I said, "I'm going to be home for 24 hours. Should I not be going to the next camp? Am I like typhoid Geoff here, just patient zero? What is this?" He says, "I'll meet you at my clinic at 6 p.m. He ends up biopsying this, they're all over me. I still have this hole in my elbow from what he biopsied. He says, "We'll send that to the lab and I'll let you know." I go, "Yeah, but I'm leaving tomorrow for Nashville. Should I not be going to that?" "Nah, it's fine. Should be fine." I said, "What do you think it is?" He said, I don't know. He said, I think it's a reaction to medicine." I said, "I'm not on any medicine. What else you got?" "That's your best guess?" So anyway, I go to Nashville, and every day I'm like, am I going to get everyone, what is this? And by Wednesday, I still haven't heard from him. So I call him, I go like, "What did pathology say?" He goes, It's unclear, but they think it's a reaction to medicine." "I'm not on medicine. That's the best you got." Well, it went away on its own, and later he said, "It's almost like a cold that broke out on your skin." Whatever. But here's the thing, right? They did not understand leprosy. They didn't. They thought it was transmissible by touch. And so you get all these weird rules that were really unfair. And most of us would be thrown out for one reason or another between, any rash. And as I pick on dermatologists, I get it's the largest organ in the body. It is super hard to understand. But everything from impetigo to, a little bit of seborrheic dermatitis, you'd be out. They just couldn't afford to risk it. And so this guy, of course, has been completely removed from his family, from his community. And so the first thing you see Jesus do, he does three things for this guy. The first is he just feels compassion for him. He feels compassion. Although there's an alternate, as they codified the Bible, you have all these different codices, different translations. And about 70% he was moved with pity. But about another 30% of these codices said he was moved with anger. It says that he was angry. And when they put it together, they decided to go with pity. But I think and many scholars, this isn't Geoff's theory, but many scholars say if it was indeed anger, it was the anger that he had been removed from his community. He's not angry at him. He's angry at the situation. He's angry to see the destruction, the disintegration of the community. And so that's what it is. He feels for him. He has compassion. Right? The Latin, cum passio, to suffer with. You're in suffering, and I'm suffering with you, that you have been pulled out of the community. And then the next thing that he does is, because the leper gets in his way, right? That's what he does. He gets in his way and kneels before him and gives the guilt trip speech. "If you wanted to, you could heal me." Oh, you can almost see Jesus smile. I do want that. I do want that, and I will. And he touches him. Didn't have to touch him. There are many miracles he does just by word. He calms the sea by just telling it to. Well, why does he touch him? He doesn't need to. I would tell you that this is the second thing in terms of that action to him, because it's less about the healing from leprosy. That's so temporary. This guy got sick with other things in his life, which I don't know, and we do know ultimately he dies. But the restoration to the community, that's eternal. That's why you and I do corporal works of mercy. Not just to rack up points, or good people points, but it's to say that when we do that, that's the eternal stuff. When we do mission work, when we go out and we build a house, or we paint a wall, or we feed the the poor who are in need, it's not those actions that we do because those are very temporary. The elements will bring all that work down. It's the relationships that are eternal, even if you never see those people again. And that's what Jesus is making sure he understands. You are worthy. You are worth it. And in the end, Jesus is going to lay down his own life to make sure we all know that. And in the end, the third thing he does is he just wills it. He says, yep, it's going to happen. It's going to happen right now. And so then the question for us today is, what are we being called to? I hope we're being called initially to be people that are compassionate too. But that's going to start with us kind of looking at the people that may or may not be in our lives, the people maybe that we avoid. Maybe it's their situation or circumstance that kind of pushes us back. But when we do that, we're going to have to confront our prejudices and our insecurities. Now, the word prejudice has taken on a weird charge, but the reality is it's just the prejudge that we do. My very first trip to Jamaica to do mission work, there were 2 high schools that came from almost the opposite ends of the country together, and I was helping direct that mission. And but it was run by a non-denominational church out of Orlando, massive church. And the minister that was there, we were having dinner one night, he starts giggling, and I said, what? He goes, he didn't use the word prejudice. He goes, but I had to confront something today that is just sitting in the back of my head I've never thought of. And he goes, and that is that I'd never thought about the fact that there are happy and holy Catholics. I'd never really thought about that, he said, because he was born and raised in this non-denominational church. He said, the only Catholics I've ever met are angry former Catholics who go to my church. Right? And I've never thought about it. I never had to confront it. You see what I'm saying? What is it that you and I need to confront? Where are the places that we say we won't go? And maybe you say, there aren't any, but we'll know when we hit them when they drop into our lap. Because we're people of comfort for the most part, aren't we? We just are. That's okay. That's not a judgment. We just need to know that about ourselves. So that if we're gonna go find those who are been thrown out, if we're gonna go find the unclean and the unworthy, it starts with understanding where we have to go. There's the challenge for all of us, I think, is to think of it that way. Who are those people? What does it look like? It's because in the end, as they misunderstood leprosy, I think we misunderstand the word conspire, right? Conspiracy. There's another word. It's awful charged in our language today. But here's your second and last Latin lesson for the day. Where does conspire come from? Its root is to breathe together. Conspirare. To breathe together. And we do that as a community. We do. When we say that we are going to work the corporal works of mercy, when we will feed the hungry and clothe the naked and bury the dead, and we go right down the line. Why do we do that? We do that and we breathe it together because that's how people know they're restored. That's how people on the margins can return to the center. Because see, in Jesus, there aren't in-groups and out-groups. In the world, there are lots of in-groups and out-groups. Need look around for just a few minutes to see the prejudices and the hatred and the intolerance and the war and the darkness and the name-calling and all of it. That's all in, out, win, lose. That's just not the language of Jesus Christ. It's not. But if there were in and out groups, we're in the wrong group, aren't we? We'd want to get to the out group because that's where he spends his time. But that's not the point. We don't need to worry about that. He's engaging with us the same way he does with this leper, which is to say, I do will it. I will that you be restored. I will that you be seen as clean. Not because you're doing it perfectly, but because you have a heart that's asking for it. Lord, show yourself to me. Lord, show me what you want me to do next. So that in this Eucharist, right, it always comes back to this. In Genesis, in the second creation account, he breathes the breath of life into man and woman. And then that becomes the very breath that you and I breathe today. We conspire with God every day. And that's about as intimate as it gets, right? I always say, if you don't think that's intimate, go up to a bus stop and just breathe into someone's nose. See how that goes for you. You'll probably get arrested. And don't call me. I'm not going to help you. It's a very intimate gesture, isn't it? To breathe into someone, but to breathe together. And when we take his very presence into us today, we intimately will be breathing together with Jesus. the one who said to the sin, I do will it. I want this for you. I want you to know wholeness and restoration. I use the image of instrument with you a lot, and here it is. Breathe into the instrument the gentleness and the humility and the love and the kindness and the patience that people hunger to know. There are just so many people that are crushed under the weight of the darkness in this world. But you know what's not going to solve that? Another document, more screaming and name-calling and yelling. But what if you've read through church history, when it's gotten dark as the time that we're in, what changes all that is just faithful people, gently and humbly living something different and breathing it together. As I said, we do that as a community. We do. Can we do more? You bet. But we will not do more alone. Let us breathe in and conspire with Jesus Christ, the one who conquers sin and death. And as we prepare to receive him in this Eucharist, to realize that when we put his presence right into us at the cellular level, think about this for a second. You're going to ingest his body and soul, blood and divinity. And what you will be breathing in and out is the very presence of God. Let us conspire together that all could be restored, to know their worth and their value. Because as I said at the beginning, that is what is eternal. When we've lost loved ones, when relationships are strained or crumble or feel like they can't be restored, let us breathe together the vision of restoration that starts here in this Eucharist and is our work out there in the world. May God be praised.